Well, it also involves verb and action. We're not going to be able to go into a lot of detail here, but for those of you who have our book and those of you who like our book, you would certainly, we recommend it, or even on our website, and we can talk to you a little bit more about it. We identified 5 specific kinds of behaviors that attract the spark. How many of you have ever fallen in love or are in love? All right. Did you notice the older people in the room, they were a little shaky? It's been a long time. All right. Idea generation is a lot like falling in love. That's what our research suggested. That in order to track insights, they come at sometimes the most seemingly random places. In the shower, on a run, listening to music, interacting with people, at a club, at a cafe. Okay, well, was that just by accident, or was that actually deliberate? Well, what we found is people who were innovative and creative actually made it a habit to interact with their environment in ways that would put them in situations that would help to attract those kinds of sparks. Okay? Bill Bowerman was a legendary track and field coach at the University of Oregon. How many of you know him? Okay. All right. Not maybe the most well-known person, but he will be when I tell you his story, because one of the things that he was interested in coming up with is shoes, athletic shoes, to help athletes perform better. He was a legendary track and field coach, trained many Olympians, and he was interested in diet, exercise, all the right things to help encourage athletes to perform better. But he was also interested in the apparel, specifically shoes. So he was looking for a performance shoe that would reduce the injury on his athletes as well as increase their performance. So that was his big question. That was his sort of obsession. So he traveled the world trying to understand the way in which people use shoes in order to enable higher performance. Well, one of the things that he was credited for doing is bringing running and jogging to the United States. So that's sort of an interesting sort of factoid. But the big breakthrough was, as he was thinking about this, going to different environments, interviewing people, studying people, looking at their habits. One day, sort of subconsciously, his wife was making waffles. And as she was making waffles, came his spark moment. Okay? When the waffle popped up, he said to himself, I have my $1 million idea. And it was more than that, actually. He said, what if I made the sole of a shoe look like a waffle? Which is just about every sole of shoe made today. That he started to experiment. He literally put rubber into the waffle iron and started to experiment with designs that would help improve the shoe. And he teamed up with a guy named Phil Knight. How many of you know Phil Knight? Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman created Nike. The two of them together, based on what they called the waffle moment, created that spark. So the point of that story is that we can attract sparks that could lead us to great big ideas, that could greatly influence how we live, how others live, and the successes that we enjoy from it. Okay? So attracting spark is really key when you think of innovation as a verb. But it doesn't stop there, right? It's not just about attracting sparks, it's about advancing sparks. And so many of us, myself included, I've had many $1 million ideas. Okay? But I've never acted upon them. The difference between somebody who's creative and somebody who's innovative is the ones who venture forward, actually advance those ideas, and have many failures. But the more the failures that they have, the more likely they're getting to their success. So just like falling in love, we had maybe many lovers, many people whom we are attracted to, but not all of those become a life partner or a steady date, right? We fall in and out of love with people just as we do fall in and out of love with ideas. So how do you know the difference? Well, part of that comes through 5 specific habits that I talked about. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but the habits to attract those sparks, what we call cultivating. Putting yourself in the right space and place, the right vibe, to help you to come up with good ideas. So when we work with corporations, we often take them to different places and spaces to just stimulate them. As you can see, we use artwork, for example, just to get people thinking out of the box. Or we may take, like we've done with a skincare company one time, we took them to tattoo parlors. You know, what would a tattoo parlor conceivably help a skincare company? Well, when they started to investigate, actually people with tattoos not only are just extraordinary designers, but they're pretty fastidious about their skincare because of the treatment that is associated with it. So from that, they get different insights that help to stimulate possibilities. It gets them out of the box. So they don't see the candle or the box of text as just a box of text. They see the text and the box. They get out of the functional fixedness in order to start to create. It also includes scouting. Scouting is really what it describes. It's being like an anthropologist. It's going out and observing and absorbing yourself into the experience. When we went out studying smokers in Europe to understand how we could come up with, for this company that we were working with, to come up with new non-product related innovations to support their products to help discourage people from smoking or quit smoking, we literally observe smokers and their habits in different types of environments. So much so that Rick Javik is still addicted to the nicotine gum. He took it to one level too far.
Never a smoker.
Never a smoker. Okay. But why did we do that? Well, we wanted to study their behaviors, and some of the insights that occurred is, you know what, there's some happy smokers actually. And that there is this journey that people make when they're smoking in terms of trying to quit, which yielded all kinds of different possibilities in terms of different solutions, different behavior modification programs, different alliances with different companies. So when we go out and scout, we start to generate insights. It's why shampoo bottles are turned upside down, because somebody went and did some scouting. It also requires what we call play. And that doesn't mean just being playful and having fun and silly, although that's okay. It's about experimenting, being curious, and prototyping. Okay, so when you do playing, when you do scouting and flourishing, you increase the possibility of attracting good ideas, but by doing it on a habitual basis. It's that simple, it's that easy. It's why people in the shower or on the run, when they're doing those sorts of things, do come up with great ideas. But you can't stop there. To advance them, you got to take the lead, what we call venturing. You have to take some risk. You have to jump in there and see if it's going to work. You have to commit resources, you have to commit money, you have to commit time, you have to get others involved in order to pursue different ideas. Bill Bowerman just didn't stop with the concept, he actually experimented it. He ruined a lot of waffle irons before he finally came up with the right idea. And then harvesting is really actually making it real. Is working with other people. Seldom do creative and innovative ideas come from one individual. We were talking in the hallway a little bit about writing a book. My name is on the book, but it wasn't just me. Janine was. We had an editor. We had a designer. We had many people who contributed stories. So, you know, several people. We might have had the idea and the concept, but it really required a lot of people to harvest that before it became an actual reality. Make sense? I'm giving you a 50,000-foot level, but what we do is, you know, there's lots of different techniques, associative techniques, observational techniques, prototyping, design techniques that are nested in each of these types of habits. But these are the behaviors that we saw exhibited by innovators that we've worked with, from banking to manufacturing to insurance to pharmaceutical, to consumer products. These were the kinds of